I know.
Hello guys, welcome back to SWS Boxing. Delighted to get on the channel boxing coach Liam Lathbury. He's Conor Gray's head coach. And yes, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good.
Good to get you on.
Yeah, brilliant. Nice to be on, mate.
Anytime, mate. And yeah, of course, Conor is currently 11-0 with one knockout. Of course, he was meant to fight for the Commonwealth silver this weekend against Isha Maniva. Explain why that got cancelled.
So I believe there was an issue with the visas. It was nobody's fault really, but there's a national holiday over there, and I think somebody forgot, and obviously the people that should have dealt with it didn't, and unfortunately we just missed the scheduled time to pick them up to be able to come over and get their bloods and so on done. So it sort of got into a bit of a situation where we had to make a decision.
But will that fight get rescheduled?
Yeah, so that fight has been rescheduled and sanctioned by the Commonwealth for the 1st of June back at the Mecca.
Oh, so good stuff. You've got it rescheduled straight away.
Yeah, it was all done within 20 minutes, to be fair. Good work from Carl Nelson and the team. Yeah.
Hmm. Before we get into Conor's 11 fights, how did you get into the sport of boxing and coaching?
I boxed myself when I was a youngster for Malmesbury Amateur Boxing Club when I was 11. Things didn't work out for me there, so I actually ended up boxing for Penhill long time ago under Mickey Price. And then when he sort of took a back seat, I was one of the first fighters that Paul Rogers actually trained. And when he hung his gloves up after he won the ABAs, I was there, did really well. I had a great amateur career, and then I moved on and turned pro with Ronnie Davis, who was renowned for having the Eubanks, especially Chris Senior. I turned pro, did well. Unfortunately, failed a medical brain scan and had to give up.
What was your record? Right, pro
Uh,
record.
8-1-6. One's debatable, but one I definitely lost.
Hmm. Did you win any titles or?
I won the Western Counties as an amateur every year. I went in it, I think 9 times, something like that. I was a school semi-finalist, junior ABA finalist, and just went on from there. I was quite strong when I was young, so I was boxing a lot of seniors when I was a youth.
Yeah. You talk about your pro career. Were you happy with your pro career?
I was happy with it. Not happy where I got where I wanted to get to. I was tipped at the time to do big things from people that knew what they were talking about. If that would have happened, we'll never know. But I've got no regrets. I give it my best shot. And as you know, with the boxing, I've made friends for life out of it, and it taught me a lot about the game.
So did you say that you trained in the same gym as Chris Eubank Senior?
No, I was with his coach, his old manager, Coach Chris Eubank Senior, was well retired when I started boxing as a professional. I was with his manager and trainer Ronnie Davis, who I very close friends with to this day. I did most of my training. Well, I suppose the biggest name that I was knocking about with at the time would be Howard Eastman. I did a lot of sparring with Howard Eastman when he was. I had my pro debut when he won the Commonwealth title in the York Hall.
Mm. Who did he fight for that?
Sam Solomon, Australian lad.
Hmm. Um, what do you make of course, Chris Eubank Jr. and Harlem Eubank at the moment?
Yeah, I think they're great fighters. It is what it is with them. It's very hard when you've got a big name behind you like that. It's the same for Campbell and Conor Benn, and people are they're not their dads. Let them have
Mm.
their own careers. Obviously Harlem's his nephew, but just let them do their own thing. People not Chris Junior. I know him. He's a nice enough lad. He's been kind enough to spar with a lot of my lads and help them out, let him have photos and put on socials and stuff. And he's always been good to me, so I always speak as I find. And they can say what they like about him. He's got a decent bank account, and that's what being professional is all about.
Yes, mate, 100%. I mean, I think his last fight was Liam Smith, wasn't it? And it was good that he got that over like like he won that rematch.
Yeah, obviously, there's always a lot that goes on behind closed doors. The first fight, did they do things right with the weight? I don't think so. And that proved in the second fight when they did things properly.
Do you think that do you feel like that makes for a third fight? Is there like one win each?
I would say I would have say so, but I think I mean I really like Liam Smith. I think he's a great fighter, and I think should have achieved more than he did, but injuries and stuff have let him down. But I think his body's let him down now, so I don't think a third fight is worth having.
Mm. Who would you like to see Chris fight next?
Uh it's an awkward one, and everybody wants him to fight someone massive, Canelo and all them sort of talks, but they're all sort of crazy fights, aren't they? But they are the fights that he could possibly get into. And if he could get one of them and make serious money, he's obviously at the end of his career himself. He's not a young man anymore. Extremely fit, does look after himself, does live quite clean. So I hope he does get a real big fight like Canelo or someone and makes the money that all these fighters should.
Yeah, 100%. And before we get on to Connor, we'll talk about Harlem quickly. Do you believe, of course, there was a face-off with Harlem and um, Azim at the O2 a few weeks, I think it was the Clark fight. What's your thoughts on that fight if that fight happens?
Yes, an interesting fight. Adam Zim's a big, big lad for the weight. Very, very strong. I followed him through the amateurs quite a bit because I had an amateur coming along at the same time as him, but my amateur was a lot bigger, so they never clashed. But yeah, he was exciting to watch. He was an amateur. He's proved exciting as a professional so far. But when you're the European champion, the British and Commonwealth champions calling you out, why would you give up the title and fight Harlem? Unless there's a lot more money in it. I mean, I don't get it.
Mm. But yeah, moving on to Connor. Of course, he's 11-0. Connor made his debut back in. Oh, did Connor have a big amateur career?
Yeah, he's been with me since he was 13, Connor. He was up and down as a schoolboy, win a few, lose a few, never over consistent. Then he sort of was in and out of a bit of trouble and stuff through his sort of late teenage years. And then I sort of had a word with him and just said, look, if you knuckle down properly, I think you could do well. And he sort of knuckled down, dropped down a weight, done really well. They used to do this London title thing. We got asked to box for it. He went there and beat a kid a lot bigger than him, who was a dangerous puncher. And he went on to win the youth ABAs. And then he went on to it used to be called the NABCs, but I think it's called the NAGBCs now because it's got girls and boys clubs. And he got right through to the final, and he boxed all the way through, boxed some really good kids. And in the final, he boxed a kid who was a junior Olympic champion from Romania, and he lost on a split decision. And that's when he sort of made his mind up. He wanted to give the pro game a go. And obviously, COVID hit, so sort of knocked us back a little bit. But we got going, and obviously his original debut was, I think, 2 or 3 months before his actual debut, but his opponent tested positive for COVID, so we had the fight wrapped. So Mark had us on his next show in Swindon, and in fairness, he put us on the show the week later in Bracknell.
Oh yeah, because I was at that fight in Bracknell. I think he boxed Lee Connolly.
That's right, yeah.
But yeah, so talk about, of course, his debut. He boxed Gary McGar, is it?
Yeah.
And he
Yeah,
stopped him at the end of the second.
yeah, that was a bit of a strange one because Connor's dad was the first fight that he came to watch Connor, and his dad actually had a brain aneurysm in the pub next door. So Connor disappeared from the changing rooms because someone come to get him. I found out he was out seeing to his dad. I went out, and then they were putting his dad in the back of an ambulance. I got him away from it, got him in the changing room and said, look, this is professional boxing. You got to be professional now. Get your head down, get this done, and then we'll go and see your dad. Thankfully, his dad's okay. But obviously, keeping his head on track to carry on training for another fight the following Saturday was a big task. But testament to him, really, that he stayed level-headed.
Yeah, so was it hard for like you as a coach to keep him focused on the fights?
Yeah, it was extremely difficult on the night because obviously we didn't know what was happening. Obviously, in the back of his mind, his dad had, that was his dad passed away. In the back of his mind, I just kept reassuring him he'd be fine. I did tell him a bit of a white lie and said, "Look, I've just spoke to your sister. Your dad's all right. He's a bit annoyed he's missed the fight, just to get his head on track." Kept him in the game. I said, "Look, let's just get this done." And I said, "Right, let's get you to the hospital, get your dad, see what's going on." And then obviously we had to stay fit that week, but there wasn't too much to do because we just boxed, so it was literally just keeping the weight off.
Yeah, and he had a good performance against Lee Connolly, who's as tough as they come.
Yeah, so like I said to him, I said, look, with Lee, I said, just box clever, don't get involved, get the 4 rounds under your belt, and just learn. You get a lot of these fighters, they go out and they're knocking kids out straight away, and it's all good. You go up the ladder really fast, and it's amazing, and I understand that, but your fights get harder a lot quicker, and you haven't actually had the experience of being a professional long enough. So I'm always like, don't worry about getting them knocked out, just box clever, win the fight, look good, get when you get into title fights, then start getting rid of them.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's so did you feel like after those two 4 rounders, it was the right thing to move on to the six?
Yeah, Connor. So Connor's been with us, obviously, like I said, from a young kid. He's always been a distance fighter. When we can get him into these 10 and 12 round fights, that's where he comes on. He gets stronger and stronger as the fight goes on. I'm always kicking him up the ass for being a bit of a slow starter sometimes, but he's getting better at getting that. We've sort of managed that. He doesn't do as much anymore, and as the fight goes on, he gets stronger. And then, people think he's not a big puncher, but he's a good puncher, and you can't keep taking him over the distance.
Exactly. I mean, then he fought Rustam Falcullen.
Yeah, yeah, tough fight on paper. I know he's an on the road lad, but at the time we boxed him, he was obviously he'd knock up a win here and there. But yeah, it was a good fight. I think he
Hmm.
dropped the first round. I think.
Yeah, I think he might have.
Yeah,
Um, then he fought another good fighter in Liam Richards.
yeah, that was another one in Bracknell. I think. Fair play to Mark Nelson and the Nelson team helping us out again. Uh, yeah, we done all right there. He took a little bit of an army up there. He does quite well on tickets. He's got quite a good following, building better and better. I think Liam at the time was lucky to survive the fight. I felt the referee was having a real close look in the last 2 rounds.
Do you feel like if it was eight, then Connor could have got him out of there?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't think he'd got through another round. To be fair.
Hmm. Then he fought Jamie Quinn.
Yeah, so we had someone different for that fight, and something happened. Kyle got us a quick replacement, just so at least we still boxed. And like I said, Jamie's been round the houses with everybody. If you give him a sniff of a win, he'll have one. I said just put him in his box and keep him there. Don't try and do anything exciting. The plan was to work the body a lot in that fight, which we did, and just tire him out and keep him on the end of the shots.
Hmm. Then you fought Lopez Christian Lopez Flores.
Yeah, so he was a bit of a danger man at the time. Obviously, when we boxed him, I think he had about 13 wins and
19 defeats,
19 defeats, was it? Yeah.
two
And
draws.
yeah, the fight after us, he knocked out Prospect, didn't he?
Mm.
Yeah, so he was dangerous, big puncher. Connor said he was very heavy handed, but I just said box clever, and he came to win that guy. Yeah, it was a good fight.
Hmm. He also fought Jacob Levansky, who I believe also boxed Campbell Hatton.
Yeah, so I picked that person for a reason because we were trying to hot on Campbell's heels is what we love. So we sort of try and get some of his previous opponents if we can, try and do a better job on them. But that occasion he turned up 11 pound heavier than Connor.
Wow.
So yeah, he was massive. So I said, yeah, just box, just don't mix it with him. He's you're giving away too much weight. And yeah, he put on a good show that night. I thought he boxed really well. It was his first 8 rounder, I believe.
Um, yeah, oh yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So another step in the right direction, and he learned a lot from that fight.
And then he went back down to 6 rounds and fought Chisanga.
Yeah, so that was I think Mark had a show that was somewhere and it got cancelled through no fault of their own. Lots of stuff was going on at the time, and it fell through. And then they didn't have there was quite a big gap till their next show. And I know Chris Saniger quite well, and he said, "Well, you can box on my show if you want." So we took that. That was another guy, I mean, he was supposed to turn up at a certain weight, but he was quite a lot heavier. But yeah, he was a lot better than his record. That lad, he'd actually boxed for the Olympic team from Zambia or something like that. He was a lot better than his record. Was
Yeah.
I think Connor dropped him in the 5th round, which won the fight. To be honest,
Was that? Do you feel Connor made it closer than he needed to that night?
yeah, we didn't know the lad was a southpaw. Boxing another southpaw is always messy at times, because we didn't know he was a southpaw. It got a bit. And I say the lad was a lot better than his records, and just he took a bit of time to get to him. Obviously, an 8 round fight would have been a different fight, and that was the trouble because he went from 8 back down to 6. I think he felt he had a bit more time, but when I give him a bit of a talking to in the corner, he stepped up, dropped the kid, and won the fight.
And then he boxed another one who Campbell's boxed, but Connor beat him 58-56, Jamie Sampson, which was his first sort of prospect v prospect sort of fight.
Yeah, yeah. Jamie was on a comeback, I believe. But yeah, he came to win. He came to cause an upset. The problem was he was a spoiler. He was jabbing and grabbing, and he just come to spoil. Like he got disqualified against Campbell, but he hit Campbell a lot more than he hit Connor. So interesting fight for the future, hopefully.
Louis Norman, former English champion.
Yeah, there's another one sort of picked for the right reason. He'd been at title level. He'd fought for the British title as well, I believe. So he told us on the scales, your O's going. That rattled Connor a bit. Another thing, I said you need to step up your game quicker. Caught him, hurt him a lot. He was not a bad kid though. He was a decent fighter.
He knocked him down in the last round.
Yeah, yeah. Left it a little bit late to put his foot on the gas, but put the icing on the cake. Make sure you win the fight.
And then he fought Rustem Falcullen again, and it was 80-72 this time.
Yeah, one of those things that happens. A bit like this. Unfortunately, it's boxing. We had a decent fight lined up. I can't remember who it was now off the top of my head. We had a real good fight, another step in the right direction. Another lad with a winning record fell apart at the last minute. I think Rustin was supposed to be fighting someone else on the show who was injured. So it was basically that what we could do is put you two together so at least you still box. And then I just said to Connor, look, get the 8 rounds in and just look good.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, of course. So do you feel like this is Connor's year to be pushing on for titles? Of course, he's boxing for the Commonwealth Silver in June that you said. Yeah, do you feel like this is Connor's year to pick up these belts? And are you guys targeting that Hatton fight or?
Yeah, we'd love that Hatton fight. Obviously, the unfortunate problem is he fought for the area title and lost it, didn't he? So we were sort of hoping he'd win that, and we were sort of hoping Saturday night was happening. We win that, and then obviously we chuck a challenge out. Look, we've got this. We've got something better than you. Let's do a deal. And obviously, if the real Commonwealth become vacant or something, maybe those two on a big show for the Commonwealth be a great fight.
But yeah, anything else that you want to mention?
No, not really. Just we're working hard. People have followed Connor's progress. Obviously the Nelson boxing have been brilliant with us and Connor, getting him on loads of shows. His army of fans getting bigger and bigger, as everyone can hear when they're at the shows. They make a lot of noise, and it's great to see from having him from a young kid to where he's at now. It's great. He's realising his dream.
And from me, mate, thank you for your time.
No problem.
Thank you. Bye, mate.
Cheers, mate. Bye.